I'm a student of the world, and I found my way into medicine a little bit reluctantly. It just became very apparent to me that the privilege that physicians have to be like in participation with people's lives in a lot of different phases, whether it's just people's goal setting or times of crisis or whatever it may be.
People who look you in the eye and they say, cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me. It's like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, right.
How can that be? And that's something that I've heard like time and time again, So to be able to connect on that level and understand, how sometimes these health events, these health crises are actually profound turning points in people's lives.
That's really what it's all about for me. And the practice of medicine is meeting people where they are and being what they, the guidance that they are looking for. And that's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't something like I was chasing down. It was just sort of happened in a, very organic way.
Welcome, everybody, to the Health Sovereignty Podcast with Cloud Medical. My name is David Tusek, and I am very delighted to be here today with our new physician, Dr. Andrew Cunningham, who just joined our practice. Andrew, welcome. It's so great to have you on.
Thank you very much. It's
a
true pleasure. It's nice to sit down with you and talk this morning.
Absolutely. How are you today? How's your morning so far?
It's good. It's, I was able to walk around the block with my dog this morning, which was kind of nice after my kids went to school. And I'm enjoying the transition of the seasons.
It's been an amazing fall.
Yeah.
Weather's been spectacular.
Definitely.
So give us a quick overview, man. Just a couple of minutes. What I'd love to do today really is just kind of talk about who you are behind the white coat. When was the last time you actually wore a white coat?
That's exactly what I was thinking. What white coat? I think there is one deep in my closet that was used for a photograph or something, probably.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been decades for me.
Right.
But yeah, give us just a quick overview. How would you describe yourself?
I am, it's a fun question to answer because like no one has asked me this in so long, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so much of why we go into what we choose as a calling is like based on our kind of worldview and philosophy of purpose and so forth. And yeah, people don't really ask you very often, like, why are you doing this? What do you like about it? But I would say I'm a student of the world, and I found my way into medicine a little bit reluctantly. I studied engineering in college, and probably halfway through realized that it wasn't really the right move, but it took me more time to kind of like hone in on the inner voice that was like, hey, medicine is like a real deep thread here that you need to follow. And to be honest with you, I was kind of turned away from like the competitiveness and everything that was associated with all like the pre-med scene. And I felt like memorizing textbooks and all that kind of stuff was just like not the track I wanted to go, but that's not what, health and healing and medicine are. So yeah, I'm an integrative medicine doctor. That's my work. And otherwise I'm a family man and a gardener and an athlete, and
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And a dad.
Yeah. Which is like kind of the highest calling for me right now.
For sure. So how was it shifting out of engineering? I mean, to some degree, that's a very analytical, memorize a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
learn a lot of math,
Hmm.
and then describe a little bit about that journey. Like, at what point did you know, despite the intimidation or some of the negative aspects of your perception of pre-med and then med school, at what point was the hook set where you were like, no, 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 this is actually my path. This is my calling.
Yeah, I think I'm a people person,
Mm-hmm.
and engineering wasn't like a really people driven thing. Um, Ultimately, when I was trying to, like, I was just seeking and trying to sort a lot of things out when I was in my early 20s. And I guess, like, one of the most elemental truths that I discovered about myself was that I was, like, very interested in people and cultures and different ways of thinking and just exposure to stories and all this kind of stuff. And it just became very apparent to me that, like, the privilege that physicians have to be like in participation with people's lives in a really in a lot of different phases, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's just people's goal setting or times of crisis or whatever it may be. I think I just didn't see that that was going to be like a privilege that was going to like exhaust itself
Mm-hmm.
from a life satisfaction
Mm-hmm.
sort of way.
No, can't even tell you how much I relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that that level of depth and intimacy that we get to have with our patients and, listen to stories,
Hmm.
have people share things that still to this day blow my mind, people who look you in the eye and they say, cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me. It's like, wow,
Hmm.
tell me about that.
Yeah. Right.
How can that be? And that's something that I've heard like time and time again, you know? So to be able to connect on that level and understand, how sometimes these health events, these health crises are actually profound turning points in people's lives.
Hmm.
It's a health journey of going through and to the other side of, to a completely different form of kind of whole human integration.
Right.
So such an honor and a privilege to share that with our patients. So you grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. What was that like? What's it like to grow up in Louisville?
Yeah. Wonderful. I mean, to be honest with you, it's an area of the country that doesn't get a ton of national attention really, except for on one day of the year when horses are racing.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, I consider my upbringing to be relatively charmed there because
Mm-hmm.
it's the kind of place where generations of people know each other and everybody looks out for each other. And, you know, at least this was my experience. I was friends with kids whose parents went to elementary school with my parents, and um, I didn't know what else was out there. I mean, I think I had a perception of like, oh, I'm looking at these skate magazines and like California sure seems cool. I wish I
Mm-hmm.
could live at the ocean and things like that. But it felt safe. It felt, um, I guess part of like what is me is Kentucky, is being from there and being like, there's not a lot of pretense really. It feels to me like there's just like good, wholesome folks that know each other and care about each other.
So those folks that knew you in high school,
Yeah.
how would they have described you as a high school kid?
Oh, I was like pretty ambitious, I guess. I mean, I was like a really dedicated student, and I was like I was kind of, I played a lot of sports growing up, but the sport that really commanded like tons of my time was diving. So I spent,
Diving. Wow.
yeah, like springboard diving.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent
Amazing.
hours a day from age 7 to halfway through college, like practicing stretching, like trying to perfect that
Amazing.
3-second routine over and over. But yeah, I was, I think I was a little kind of shy as a little kid, but through like adolescence, high school and all that, I really was a people person. I mean, I was always, trying to make new friends and relate with people of different ages. And so I don't know how other people would describe me really, but
Mm-hmm.
um, when I think about myself in that stage, it was like I was always like aiming for something, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to be? Where do I want to go? How can I like best create opportunities, things like that.
Mm-hmm. What other sports did you do in high school?
Well, I mean, growing up, I played all the ball sports, but I didn't carry any of them like to the high school level because I just was so much better at diving.
Mm. That's awesome,
So,
man.
yeah.
You know, I lived in Louisville in 8th grade, and I came from a running background where previously in all the schools that I attended, that was my main sport.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very linear sport. You basically go in a straight line as fast as you can. And when we moved to Louisville, I very quickly realized, at least in the part of town that I lived, there was only one sport that anybody cared about, which was basketball. And so, much to the dismay of my classmates in gym class, running in a straight line on a basketball court is generally not like what you need to be a good basketball player. And so it took me a long time to, get to the point where I was not the last guy picked on the team. Yeah, it is a great town. I really enjoyed living there. It's also an amazing medical town. I mean, the first mechanical heart transplant was done there.
Mm-hmm.
Bill DeVries, Jarvik Heart, back in the 80s. And the orthopedic surgery there was world class at the time.
Particularly the hand surgeon group.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a guy named Tumen Sai who pioneered something called a toe wrap, where for amputees, people that lost digits, fingers, thumbs, he would harvest the nail bed on your toe, take some bone grafts from the hip area, and also skin grafts from the thigh, and rebuild from scratch.
That's amazing.
A finger or a thumb. And yeah, in 1984 or 5, he did that for me because I lost my thumb in a water skiing accident. So, yeah. So you went from Louisville. Where did you go? So from high school, then you went to college and studied engineering. Where was that?
Yeah, I went to University of Virginia, which was about 8 hours from home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already, I mean, I would say one thing that was like kind of a threat as a kid was I like to travel. I was always like going out of town for these diving meets and stuff. So I was pretty keen to like fly the coop and go somewhere new.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a good, that was like for me what was a great balance between, oh, this is like a great education. And I got a diving scholarship also. And it was like they had a really solid sports program, but it wasn't like SEC kind of like
Mm-hmm.
I got to now start being on the 10 meter and being really scared every morning. So yeah, I went to University of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I moved here. And this was when I didn't know what I was going to be when I grew up.
So you took like a gap year after college and moved to Colorado?
Yeah, it took like 3 gap years.
3 gap years. Nice.
Yeah. So I moved here, did some work, climbed a lot, spent a lot of time in the mountains, saved some money, traveled, spent some months in South America. Again, just, exploring like, what direction do I want to head in? And then ended up back in Colorado for another year. So all in, I was like between college and med school, there were 3 really good years of like self growth, I would say.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you have any mentors at the time? People that inspired you or kind of helped you begin to cultivate this deep desire to move into fundamentally what, lead you into healthcare, into medicine?
Yes, I did. So one person that I think was instrumental was this woman that I worked with named Jimena in my first job, who she's not in medicine, but she was Chilean and was always encouraging me to speak Spanish with her at work and like really trying to get me to exercise that muscle because I told her that I speak Spanish. So she like made me be accountable for that. And then ultimately, like she encouraged me, like, you should go to Chile. Like, I'll connect you with some friends. And that was great because that really sent me on like, a personal sojourn for a few months that resulted in a lot of journaling and wandering around in the wilderness by myself and things like that. So I guess I have her to thank for encouraging me to do something different that really stretched me. And then,
so you guys were working together here, and she's like, "You have to go on a vision quest."
Kinda, I guess.
And
she was like, "If you should really learn Spanish, and the way to do that is just to like throw yourself into a country where you don't know anyone, where it's going to be forced upon you." And I was like, "That sounds great. I love the mountains. I'll go there." Right? It wasn't, I didn't need very much at the time. Like, it was easy for me to live out of a backpack with meager amount of money.
Did you have the trip planned out, or was it more or less, I arrived to Santiago and here we go?
Yeah, that's how it was. I mean, I had a contact that she gave me. So I started by doing some volunteering and like, kind of like, it was a place where kids that maybe didn't have a lot of supervision would like come and hang out after school. And then, but that was sort of a launch pad. I mean, I hitchhiked a lot and, spent a lot of time on buses and things like that, and ended up in Argentina for half of it because at the time it was just an expensive place to travel. And yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it was an instrumental part of my life, definitely.
Share more about that. What do you think you learned? What insights did you bring home from that? And what kind of experiences would you consider to be really impactful as you describe them?
Well, I think speaking another language is like something I would encourage anyone to do. So, I brought that home. At the time, I mean, my parents were not like psyched that I was just like, I don't really know what I want to do as a job. I'm just going to go travel, right? But it was my money. But I was really into photography at the time. So I was learning a lot about observation and like light and syncing myself to like certain times a day that I would try to pay more attention to that kind of stuff. And so there was that. And then there was also the opportunity to spend just really immersive periods in nature, which I think there's nothing quite like being able to work through your thoughts, just hiking for hours on a trail in a beautiful place. But when I came back, it's not like I was, I figured it out. Like, I've been gone for 4 months and now I know my life purpose. But I had just like had the chance to work out some kinks and like slough off a little bit of like kind of the grunt work of college and all that kind of stuff. I was like becoming an adult or becoming more like had more agency, I guess, and, confidence and like how to just pursue things.
What did you notice about the people of Chile and Argentina compared to Americans?
Well, there's a lot of commonalities with human nature everywhere. So I think what I found was like the more open I was, the more open people were to me.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the benefit of like wandering around somewhere and just keeping totally to yourself? I mean, I was there to like get more life experience. So I was, um, and there's some interesting tension between those two countries,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they very much identify as, even though those two countries are next to each other, like if you're from Argentina, you're from Argentina. If you're from Chile, you're from Chile. So it was pretty cool to like experience two cultures that were like unique from each other. But the people were fabulous. I mean, it was just like all so many good memories of that period. But I think really it was the fact that I really had to like just be continually like throwing myself out there to strangers and being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably a lot of growth that came out of that. Like it wasn't, oh, I'm in a protected situation where people know me and I have a good reputation as like a good student or something like that. It was like nobody I had interacted with on a day-to-day basis knew anything about me. So everybody was a stranger. And I don't think about this a lot in my current life, but it's fun to reflect on it and be like, oh yeah, I guess that like my interest in people that I don't know and just the daily stream of my life that I interact with, like part of my eagerness to engage with them probably is driven a little bit by some skills I had to learn at a, transformational age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't spend, I haven't been to either of those countries, but in high school, went to the Ecuadorian Andes and spent a few weeks with the Quechua tribes up there, and I found those people so profoundly like the twinkle in their eye and just the baseline level of contentment, happiness, and awe
Mm-hmm.
was just so profoundly impactful for me. And there was like this simplicity and beauty and also like this baseline level of gratitude where that human interaction just felt so meaningful to me. And I feel like I brought, some of that forward, or at least I really was inspired to bring so much of that forward coming back home. I'm like, wow, man, what an amazing and beautiful group of human beings down there. So, um, it sounds like you're connecting the dots with the experiences that you had down there that really were elemental in your journey. So to ultimately go into medicine. So then you got back from your walkabout
Yeah.
down south, and how did you end up making the decision to apply to medical school?
So I think there were two big things. I ended up back in Louisville. I was broke, right? Like I spent every last dollar I had and then flew home. Came home, I had an opportunity to go on like a medical volunteer trip to Guatemala and do some translation and stuff for like a surgery project, which was great and really kind of got me into like, oh, what would it actually be like to practice medicine? And then I also started to develop a relationship with a cousin of my mom who is in his 80s now, and he's an ophthalmologist and has just had like a really fascinating life and career. And I mean, he continues to be like an important life mentor to me.
Nice.
But he was like a great person to talk to at the time because he really was like, I was quite interested in botanical medicine, and my brother had a bunch of Andrew Wiles books that I started reading in high school. And that like really turned me on to natural healing and mind body medicine and, all the stuff that is a huge part of like how I do medicine. And what I was going to say about that is I was telling my mom's cousin, his name's Tom, um, that I thought I might want to go to like Chinese medicine school or go into public health or naturopathic medicine. And he was like, if you go to, go and get an MD, like you can still do all these things and there will be like a lot of latitude for you to design your way
Mm-hmm.
and it won't kind of corner you in any way. And for me, like primary care and family medicine was like the most holistic way to practice conventional medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of trusted him on that and was like, okay, there's a medical school here. I could have in-state tuition. I only needed to take one more prerequisite. So it was kind of like prepare for the MCAT, see how it goes, do all that. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. When you got there to med school,
mm-hmm.
I think the first couple of years are very much like just a bunch of lectures and book study, and you don't get too much clinical exposure. Then third and fourth year, you're finally out in the hospital, in the clinic, seeing patients. And we also get exposed to all the specialties.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever feel the call while you're in medical school to consider one of the specialties, or were you just kind of singularly focused on primary care and family medicine?
I was pretty singularly focused. I mean, I definitely was, I think I was pretty open-minded and I loved my psychiatry rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was fascinating. And I continue to really, love behavioral health and everything associated with it. I was really interested in like body mapping and like the nervous system and fascia and, all of the kind of musculoskeletal medicine stuff. So I think I was pretty interested in like sports medicine and physiatry and, what that could have potentially been like if I wanted to do body work within my day to day. I mean, there were other fields that I enjoyed, but it was like 2 months of this intensively is like enough to give me a good sense of whether or not like, so I think family medicine I was pretty much like that from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part of med school?
I think the boundaries, of like the deductive Western model for me was like, why do we have to label everything and, have it all be this kind of algorithm of deductive reasoning? Like there's very little, there's not a lot of openness towards like the mystery of this or that.
Yes.
Or, I would have loved to have learned more about traditional medicine and ancient healing practices and other systems that had been in existence for thousands of years that you really don't get any exposure to in a United States Western medical school. I mean, it could be different now.
Yeah.
So, there's some electives that at some schools are more like, if you got somebody on staff that's been exposed to a lot of that can open the kids' eyes to more things. But I really had to seek that out and like find it on my own. Mm-hmm. So that, having to like do it their way.
Another thing I can totally relate to.
Yeah.
Anything that can't be seen with a microscope or a telescope does not exist. At least that's the way it was conveyed to me, Mystery, interiors, depth, soul, love, these types of things were just not part of the worldview at all. And it was scientific reductionist materialism all the way up and all the way down. And I really longed for that too. How did you find your way to reclaim that after medical school?
Well, I pretty much used like every bit of elective time in medical school to find educational opportunities in I mean, there's so many different names depending on what decade we're talking about: holistic medicine, complementary and alternative medicine, integrative medicine, functional medicine, East West. I mean, but all of those, there were electives that happened in different places. So when the third and fourth year, you got to that point where you were able to incorporate some electives, like I just kind of went for that. Like, get me out of here, get me somewhere else where I can just get like a whole new lens. And I was also listening to a lot of, I don't think like podcasts existed then, but I was listening to a lot of maybe audiobooks about natural healing. And I was listening to a lot of guided meditations and things that I think really informed like a balanced view of my mind, body health, and, becoming like a sort of a fabric of like who I was going to be, regardless of what kind of information I was consuming.
So you mentioned the mind, body, and your fascination with psychiatry, and your wife has a doctorate in psychology. What do you think she would say your superpower is?
Oh, that is a good question. I mean, I think when we first became acquainted, it was in the context of a clinic. Like, we both were interns in California coming from different places. And I think it could be, I recall her being interested in the fact that like I had this kind of open mind towards healing and things. What would she say is my superpower? I proudly would say she probably would consider me like a really solid partner and dad. Now, which it would be the highest
praise.
I think so. Yeah,
for sure.
So I might leave it at that, but yeah, I mean, I think equally high of her. Yeah, she's incredible.
We're so fortunate to have, the types of partners that we would consider soulmates. I certainly feel that way, and there's nothing better than that. Nothing more powerful. Would she say that, or what would she say is your growth edge?
I think maybe my flexibility towards like my growth edge. Can you articulate? What do you mean by that?
Just the areas where we have blind spots. We have, opportunities to just unfold, evolve, expand, grow, develop more reps and capacity.
Right.
I know it's a tricky question. I look forward to meeting her myself, and it'll be great to hear that from her. But yeah, I'm just curious what you think she might say.
Yeah, I think part of the thread of our union is like kind of an ongoing, like, we challenge each other to be really authentic and not get lazy with our human experience and going through the motions, So she's an activist and an advocate and just really believes in people, and it really inspires me to continue always to grow and not become like a complacent, the tendency as a middle-aged guy is to like, I guess, become more grumbled and more rigid and kind of settled into your comfort. Right. And like, I don't want that to happen. And she really holds me accountable to like continuing to be flexible, relate with, my children at the stage that they're in and all that. And we have a really, a nice dynamic and oscillation of like how we've afforded each other time and flexibility to pursue like our work. So, when our kids were like a lot younger, there was this thing called the pandemic. Remember all that?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a serious event in our life.
And your kids were very young.
My kids were very young. I was in the midst of, like, I was already licensed in a whole bunch of states practicing telemedicine. And then the pandemic hit, and it was like telemedicine really skyrocketed. And there was just unlimited work for me. And there was also a lot of cool initiatives, and I'm like an idea person, and there was a lot of great opportunities that came up where I was like, this is awesome. I had a hard time saying no to all these neat things. And she was really holding down the fort while I was like just working a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came to a stage where like she really had an amazing opportunity to grow into leadership in her role. And I like took a step back a little bit and assumed a heavier part of the kind of the family duty stuff, I guess, to help allow for that. And so, I mean, I think that's like really what's worked amazing for us. I mean, we've had the ability to kind of like ebb and flow with that and allow each other, to support each other's growth.
Yeah.
Professionally.
And also to like, for you to be more present with your kids as they grew up when they were young.
Yeah.
What traits or characteristics that you see in yourself do you identify in your kids?
Well, I think I like am still pretty in touch with a sense of awe and wonder in the world. And being around young people, like, really is a great way to stay in touch with that.
Totally.
So I try to keep them just in wonder and like, hey, oh my gosh, look at the sun on the mountains this morning. Like, and to cultivate that in them, it's like this reciprocal thing where like I could be having a closed thought sort of day and one of your kids comes up and tickles you or something and breaks you out of that. And you're like, oh gosh, yeah. Like, so I think I try to impart, I mean, they naturally are in wonder of the world and exploring it in like a really different way than adults do. And I think even like little girls are exploring the world in a different way than little boys or a grown little boy is. So certainly I'm like learning so much from them, but yeah, I try to impart just like curiosity, like really cultivate that and especially like an openness towards like everybody just living the human experience in a different way. You know, like we're kind of surrounded by a lot of divisiveness right now. And I want them to understand that like the greatest thing you can do in life is be like the fullest expression of yourself. And that does not have to conform to what somebody else thinks. So they're not my children. Like they're, you know, some developing humans that I'm like shepherding through this stage of their life. So I don't want to be like, I think you should do this sport. I think you should do this. I mean, sure, like I could identify things that might be helpful for their growth, but yeah, I try to impart that upon them, like be yourself.
Yeah. Give them opportunities, but ultimately let them guide their own path.
Am I doing it right?
I mean, I think that's profound. I think it's actually challenging because, you know, observing myself as a dad, I probably had tendencies to be like, these are things you should consider, or here are the guardrails. And
yeah,
it's a tricky balance, right? To impart something that you might equate with wisdom to, you know, prevent unnecessary suffering while also kind of trusting that uniqueness and that innate beauty that's very, very specific to themselves to really unfold on its own without too much external pressure. I think that's a tricky balance. I always go back to the Eckhart Tolle quote. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could spare our children all their suffering? No, it would not. They would grow up shallow, and all this stuff. So the tendency is to try to prevent that and
the pain, you mean?
The pain.
Prevent the pain from them having to experience it.
Exactly. And giving them their own opportunities to kind of find their way. So yeah, I think that is the right way.
The productive struggle.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So you said highest expression of themselves. So here we are. We're doing this thing. We're in practice together. You joined Cloud Medical. Talk about what the highest expression of yourself would be in the context of that container. How would that look to your kind of best assessment of being able to anticipate that or call it forth?
Well, I, to bring it back to like the human connection, that's really what it's all about for me. And the practice of medicine is meeting people where they are and being what the sort of the informed like guidance that they are looking for. And that's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people's experience in medicine is that, like I hear from so many people that are, really grounded and balanced who still are like nervous to go to the doctor as if the doctor is like the disciplinarian and not like the kid that's sharing their homework with them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that's kind of how I want to fulfill my expression of this calling, is to like be in participation with their highest goals. And that may like include nudging them in a direction that I think could be really good for them, or it could be helping them hang on in a time of overwhelm. I mean, we're always in different stages of how much control we have on the circumstances of our life. But I think if you asked me like when I was 25 or something, what do you think you're going to be doing 2 decades from now? This is very much in line with what I would have said. Like working in a practice where I can, authentically be honest with people and present them options and help them work through decisions based on risk, benefit, alignment with their own philosophy of being human and well, not plugging away at messages or treating 30 UTIs by, but, there's a lot of different medicine form factors that are needed.
Yeah.
But I think this is like having the opportunity to like sit with people and talk through things is where it's at for me.
Yeah. We have these 3 core values at Cloud: love, trust, and growth. So our goal is to convey and to sit with people and to connect with people in a way that embodies that we care about them. We love them. There's an amazing man named Brian Stevenson who, there was a movie made about him called Just Mercy. He's a lawyer. And he talked about how in law school, they're inculcated with this idea that we shouldn't care too deeply about our clients just in case the trial doesn't go their way. And then we would then suffer. And I felt much of the same themes in my medical education, where it's like, well, you shouldn't get too close to your patients because if they have a bad outcome, that would be heavy on your heart and it would weigh on you through the course of your career. And Brian Stevenson was like, yeah, the opposite is true. I found that I was a better lawyer, had better job satisfaction, career satisfaction, enjoyed my work more, and quite frankly was inspired by a much higher purpose when I actively loved the people that I was representing legally. And so we've really sort of adopted that at Cloud. It's like, no. We truly care about our patients. We love our patients. We're not afraid to do that. We're not afraid to hug them. So that, I think, really resonates with what you're saying. That deep connection is so important. The second core value is trust, and developing that mutuality of trust to be able to say things that are sometimes really difficult to say. And then the third core value is growth, which embodies this whole idea of we're here for you on your journey of evolution, however that looks for you. So it sounds like those three core values are in coherence with your own.
Amen.
Which is awesome. Beautiful. What would you say, looking back at your career, and you worked with a lot of luminaries. You worked with Dr. Weil, Andrew Weil, worked with Tom Lee, the founder of One Medical. What are some of the things that you really hope to bring forward into your work at Cloud Medical from your past?
I think that like trusting intuition it is really valuable, because most of us can objectively like list things about the state of healthcare that are problematic, but you have to think out really outside of the box to figure out like how to build solutions around that. And those are two guys that they have that ability, right? Like they are in touch with their vision, and we're not afraid to go against advice or opinion. And that's a risk that some people take, and you can take the easier way, but if there's friction with how you think it should be going, then funny things are going to happen. You know what I mean? Relationships are going to get disrupted. So I think I am guided by intuition. I know that it's not all like rosy, like, oh, I have this spectacular idea of how this could work. And, most of the time you can't have 3-hour doctor visits if you want to take care of, at the same time, a lot of people and expose greater number to high quality care. But, like you, from what I can tell, are quick to adopt and like kind of beta test and trial things that you'll discover this works great. Folks love this. This is fitting with our flow. This isn't. And I think that in a larger kind of structured medical top-down system, like you could have great ideas and like they are just going to a lot of times just end up nowhere, like fall flat. Even by the time somebody might turn an ear towards it, it could be 6 months later than when you first presented it. So I think what I like to bring to this is I have ideas, I've seen things. I know how to implement them in trial kind of ways. If we're open to doing things that we think are in service of our patients, then it doesn't matter whether or not that has proven to be successful in some scalable strategy elsewhere. Like that's where growth happens, on the fringes of, is this going to work? Right. I mean, the convention is, well, no, that's not going to work because that's not how it's been done. But how it's been done is like, we know how that works.
Yeah. Well, we love hearing just your interest in thinking outside the box, creative solutions, and really our entire culture has been based on an idea lab, micro experiments and prototypes and trying things that help us move into a type of practice that takes what's good in American medicine, and there's plenty of it, but also acknowledges what's bad, and more than anything, identifies the thing that's missing. So, yeah, we're so excited to have you be a part of all that. What do you think, Andrew, as we kind of bring this to a close? What are things that you think patients would want to know about you that you haven't shared yet? Any personal aspects of the type of medicine that you like to practice, or the things that you have as specific interest in your own approach that would be useful for people to know?
Well, I think I want folks that I work with to know that I'm inspired by them,
Mm-hmm.
right? That I don't see this as like they're coming to me for advice. Like I want to get to know them because I care about them and what they're hoping to do and how they envision health for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, I think, really fundamental. Is I don't have some preconceived agenda of how I want someone to measure up to whatever. I mean, I'm just want to be like a recipient and open to their aspirations and needs. Because again, like I wouldn't choose to spend my day having one-on-one conversations with people if I wasn't finding growth from the mutually shared dialogue and energy anyway. But I mean, I love the parts of medicine that are like not really well understood yet. So part of that is like immune regulation. How does our gut and our feelings and our mind actually have an effect on our overall health? Psychoneuroimmunology.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are things that like I started to learn a little bit about when I was younger, like, oh, we have this complex ecosystem in our body. And then, you know, in integrative and functional medicine, you'll see some things posited and put forward. And then 10 years later, it's like the mainstream medical system will be like, oh, there is something there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, well, leaky gut isn't really a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh, let's just change and call it intestinal permeability
Mm-hmm.
and it's more valid.
Mm-hmm.
So I love digestive health and everything that's encompassed there because I feel like the gut is such a gateway to other physical things. I really like behavioral health.
Mm-hmm.
I really like musculoskeletal medicine. And, you know, as somebody that's always kind of testing the boundaries of my own body, experiencing injuries, getting work done on myself, you know, trained in acupuncture, had a recent surgery, like all of everything that's kind of sports and musculoskeletal medicine related is great to me as well. Yeah, those are some of like the areas.
Fantastic. And what about any medical innovations, any particular areas of healthcare that you've seen the evolution and expansion of tools
Mm-hmm.
that you're like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this for a long time? What comes to mind for you?
Have you heard of AI? I mean, you know, this is obviously like the most pressing topic of the moment in everything, I guess. And I think we should be open to how much it might enhance our ability to be doing better medicine. I mean, certainly from like a life balance perspective, the fact that you and I might not need to spend as much time typing out notes or something like that.
Amen.
Right? Like that's a wonderful, easy, quick adoption of AI. But the ability to like have some data be processed in a way that allows us the time then to sort of translate that kind of information into what do we do with this collection of information? How do we want to move forward with decision making in a way that is really like in coherence with this person's like philosophy of health? One thing that's interesting is like botanical medicine and herbal medicine, which is obviously ancient,
Mm-hmm.
has continued to grow in terms of interest. Like the market for botanical medicine like grows every year right
Mm-hmm.
now. Like there are more and more people utilizing natural medicines, and you can't really, you know, ignore the fact that like we have good evidence that many of these things are perfectly suitable alternatives to pharmaceuticals. And for somebody that, is more steering that direction, like, oh, they're very connected with the biologic world and plants. Like, I love that quality parameters and third-party testing and all this kind of stuff can make it so that we can feel really confident with how we can recommend supplements and herbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of old school, but
it is. It's old school, and most of our modern meds, or many of our modern meds, are derived from those initial plant substances, oftentimes distilled into single molecule extractions. And there's a time and a place for that. There's also a time and a place for the full entourage effect of that entire plant.
Right.
So awesome, Andrew. Well, last question for you. One of my mentors has this beautiful quote, which is, in the future, the school, the hospital, and the monastery will be one place. It really speaks to me. And it speaks to much of the themes that you kind of brought up in this conversation. How do you respond to that? Does that land for you? That idea, that statement?
Yeah, I'm like picturing these buildings when you say that. Like at first thought, you're like a school, a monastery, a hospital. Like, do these places look the same? The edifices are, I think hospitals are really becoming compartmentalized in a major way. Even a lot of education is moving outside of the walls of schools. And so where do those things all come together? Like, it's not within the walls of any of those buildings, really, right? It's in the world and how people engage with their education and their spiritual development, and where they get more deep-seated needed care, I guess. So yeah, there are a lot of ways to, I think, angle that, but we need more love in hospitals. And I think that's the biggest imbalance there, is what's learned in relationships and in the spiritual world, and the connection to everything is the piece that's missing from the most. So I think so much of the ennui and disorder and confusion and so forth that a lot of people experience in this day and age, which affect their soul and their spirit and their mind and ultimately their body, is a result of disconnection from, the things that we should be in deeper connection with. So I think fostering connection is sort of the pearl there for me.
Yeah. That's our language, reconnecting to the four disconnections, which that quote kind of evokes. But most of us feel in many ways disconnected from our body, from our selfhood, from one another in the various ways, and also from nature. And so we're excited, really deeply honored to have you on this journey with us to try to do that here in Boulder County and ultimately elsewhere, to create a hub where all of those aspects of our whole human health can be, appreciated and cultivated and supported and nurtured as a whole. So welcome aboard, Andrew Cunningham. Yeah, we're very excited, and thanks for taking the time to chat this morning.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk about these things. The pleasure is all mine. I'm very excited. I love how this isn't something I was chasing down. It was just sort of the bringing of us together to kind of move forward with this work happened in a, very organic way.
Yeah, I was going to say, it felt very flowy and as it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well,
thank you.
Onward to many wonderful experiences together. And once again, welcome.
Appreciate it.